yesterday I started doing some digging around, and after talking about the new Integra shit, and started watching some car videos and stuff, and I think that it's fair to say that we have seriously underestimated the Supra, and it definitely deserves a second look. Now, I think the Toyota shot themselves in the foot with the way they presented the way they debuted the Supra, because I think that there was the last concept version that they showed on a floor at a showroom that they did before they actually released the car was actually very good. It was like a much it was like a kitted out version of the actual Supra that we actually got. So that Supra concept looked fucking amazing. The Supra we got was less than, and it's automatic only and BMW powered. So a lot of people took a lot of umbrage with that car. But I think that after going back and looking at some of the shit that I have and seeing some of the videos that I have, I think that we've unfairly dogged on this car. Although I think it because of that, and I think that from another video I was watching, or some shit that's saying that the sales or for the Supra were not very good. Good. I think it's been a helpful thing because I have a big problem with car ADD. Like cars, like the nostalgia effect or the hype for a car, very quickly fades off from me after driving it for a little while. I think I had the Type R for maybe 2 or 3 months before I was like already thinking about the next car, and I think I got it in June, so it's August or in October, so we're not very far into me owning the car for me to consider that. And it's not that I feel that the car is lacking or whatnot. It's it definitely does what I've always said that I wanted as a daily. I wanted something quick enough to get around general traffic, and fun to drive, and still be able to seat the whole family. The Type R does that well, but when you look at the Type R compared to all of its neighboring competition, the car is lacking. The car is not fast. Like a fast pass for a Type R on a quarter mile is 13.5. Like the average seems to be like 13.8. For most people's average, unless you're a really really good driver and you've already got a lot of seat time. Now, I know that everybody goes back to, oh, well, it just takes a little bit of bolt-ons to bump up the power, a little bit of tuning. Yeah, but I don't look at a brand new car that way. If I'm looking at a brand new car, I want best bang for your buck performance for price as it comes. I don't want to have to get a car and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do to it. I'm getting a car because what it already does as it is that I'm buying it. So I've been talking about the Corvette constantly for years. I wanted it. And then when we got the C8 Corvette finally, the MSRP is like 60 grand. So I'm like, for the entry level, I'm like, well, fuck yeah, dude. Like, that's finally like, I'm finally at that point now where I can afford that car. I traded in my SI for the Type R, and I was upside down a bit because the MSR or the Blue Book value for the SI dropped nasty, like when the new generation got announced. So that got tacked on to my, course of the Type R loan, and I'm like around 50 grand. So at that point, I'm like, fuck, Corvette's like right there. But then here's the problem with the C8 Corvette that also I would like to talk about and debate on making a separate video. I looked last night. I started actually looking at prices because the car market, as we all know, is crazy right now, like on used car prices. So if any, like my walk out of the door price for the Type R was like 43,000. And for anybody who thinks that that's crazy high expensive, that's the normal going rate down here. I double checked the CarMax. Everything around in Florida we're looking at is like the cheapest one I saw was 39,000. And it was like a 2018 it was 2018. All the Type R's are selling for, on average between $40,000 to $46,000, and most of them are 43, 46, 43, 46, 43, 45, 43, 44. So I didn't, it's not like I got okie doked on the car. The fact that there was 3 Type R's on the lot and I got the last one a day later just goes to show how fast these things are selling. They're not holding up. But again, like I said, despite the fact that I've, gotten used to driving the car now, the only complaint I have with the car is suspension, and I think that's on any car that I drive, because like the more comfortable I get, the more I want to top it out. That car, the handling starts to get sketchy after 110 miles an hour. The highest I think I've gone was like 138, and I felt like if any tiny course correction on the steering wheel, this car's going to start rolling. So, but that's just the nature of the beast. Like, I haven't topped out a car. I haven't topped out the Type R yet. And I haven't topped out a car in forever because it's been a long time since I had a car with a suspension that can handle high speeds without feeling like the body was going to roll. So it's again, like, the Type R is fun, but it's not fast. It's not going to be like, oh my God. But it is nice to be able to drive a car where I can play with people a little bit. Like, I have people who try to angrily pass me sometimes, or like, or super aggressive. And I'm already driving like 89 miles an hour as a cruising speed. So when I see these people coming up on me, I let them pass. Especially if they're coming real close to my ass before passing, I'll let them pass and then drop shift and then reel them back in and then look at them as I'm passing them. No tints on my window, so you're definitely seeing them smile on my face. And people get mad about that shit. When you can tell somebody's got their foot all the way down and they can't get around you, it's hilarious. But again, it's nothing I'm not already used to. Like, I've had faster. It's not like mind blowing. And I think that's my biggest problem. I enjoy the Type R, the package. I like the way it looks inside, the way it feels inside. I like the outside for the most part. Eventually, later on down the line, I wouldn't mind modifying it. But as long as I still pay and making payments on it, and there's a potential for a trade, I'm not going to invest in parts that it might potentially fuck in a trade in. Although what I'm gonna hopefully do is I'm gonna refinance down, get my interest really low next year, and I'm gonna continue to make the same payments. Hopefully I can pay it off quicker, and then once I pay it off quicker, I can just open a brand new loan instead of trading, and get another car that way to scratch my itch. But again, looking at the C8, and I'm sorry if I'm all over the place in this one, guys. But looking at the C8, I watched some races between the NSX and the C8 Corvette, and the NSX blew my fucking mind too. I'm not gonna lie. The first pass between these two cars, the fucking NSX ran a 10.9. I didn't realize they were that fast, like, out the box. And then the C8 ran like an 11.4. So that's really close. Now, if you look at MSRP for both of them, the MSRP entry for the C8 is fucking 60,000. And the NSX is 160,000, although that might not be entry level. But that's just just looking at MSRPs. Now, at that point, man, like, the Corvette is a no-brainer, and I personally think that the Corvette looks nicer. The only thing about the Corvette that I don't like is the steering wheel. I don't like that Alcantara shit. But other than that, the C8 is a much better looking car, and it performs so fucking close to it. And mind you, we haven't got the Z06 out yet, which is going to get like a 200 horsepower bump. So we're just talking about a base model Corvette already running mid to low 11s. I think later on, like, the NSX was running like more consistent 11.1s, 11.0s, and then the C8 was running like 11.6, 11.8. So really close in comparison for the price. But then I'm starting to get hopeful because of the entry base model MSRP, 60 grand. I'm like, fuck yeah, maybe I can finally get one of these. And it's new, current generation. So then I looked and I started searching for the Corvettes, and they're $108,000, like, for the second level. The second trim level is supposed to be starting at like 70 grand, 72,000. But if you look for used LT2s, or two LTs, I can't remember which one it is. Fuck you, Chevy. Anyway, but if you look at that, they're like $108,000 with 2,000 miles on them. I'm like, $108,000. So if anybody thought that the markup on over MSRP for the Type R's was crazy, especially for the used ones, because I think MSRP is like $35,000 or $36,000, and they average, like I said, down here $10,000 above that. The Corvette markup is insane. We're talking about like 40 grand on markup. That is fucking next level, right? So I'm like, fuck, okay, so the Corvette's a no-go. I'm not making six-figure payments, bro. Even if your credit is perfect, you're looking at almost $2 grand a month to pay for that car, not including insurance. So I'm like, yeah, that's just not happening. I'm paying like $900 right now because my credit is shit. Credit was shit. We're getting good now. So next year, like, they've already told me that it's guaranteed 4% interest rates when I go back in, and I'm at like 12% now. Coming down from 18 from the SI, which is a big part of the reason why I decided to go ahead and do with the trade-in. My payment is more expensive, but my interest rate is better, and next year is going to be guaranteed to be better. So for those of you guys that are, you're like, oh shit, it's to pay high interest for a car. Credit is weird. Like, the credit report numbers that you see isn't necessarily gonna count for exactly towards your car in the way that you think it is, because your credit report history for your car is different. So they're gonna look at it different. So if you got like shit credit there, yes, it does affect it. But if you've got really good payment history with your cars, then your lenders are gonna look at that, and they're gonna, that's how you're gonna get your help. So despite the fact that I spent 2 years paying high payments, that it's gonna pay off in the third when the payment drops really far down. So that's another thing, my income is there. My income is right there. Now I'm still building the credit. The credit is getting higher on a regular. and my history for car payments is getting good, and then the fact that my car payment is so clearly high, it's gonna stand a better chances that I'm gonna have better lenders or bigger lenders give me bigger money at better rates, so I can buy a Corvette if I want to. But at 6 figures, it doesn't matter how good my credit is. I don't feel comfortable making a $1,900 payment. I don't want the car that bad. I don't want the car so bad that I'm willing to pay rent for it, house rent. So then again, and I know I spent like 10 minutes talking here, but and I didn't mean to do it like this. But get it back to the Supra. Because I think the fact that it's not selling well, the Supra isn't getting crazy high markups. I don't remember. I think that the entry level for the Supra is in the $40,000 range, but that's like a 4-cylinder. So we're not even gonna talk about that because that doesn't fucking matter. There's like a non-turbo automatic Mark IV. Nobody cares about that car, right? So 50 grand, $51,000 I'm seeing for the Supra, right? Now, mind you, I paid $43,000 for the Type R. So at $50,000. We're looking at not that much difference, and we're looking at a whole lot of difference in performance and improvement, right? I've been watching a lot of videos. I watch a lot of just regular street racing footage, and stock Supras are beating the shit out of tuned Type Rs. Yeah, so there's that. And then if you look at the performance of the Supra, stock Supra on the track, I watched a guy that didn't have a lot of experience with his car run two, consistent 12.3s in a stock Supra. And then, like, he failed a launch control attempt. Again, so this is without launch control. He's running 12.3, 12.3. He goes back, tries to do launch control, didn't work out, runs again for a fourth pass, and does a 12.0. So, a 12 fucking second car. The Supra is a low 12-second car out of the box. A bad driver maybe 12.5, but it's an automatic, and this is where that thing with the automatic transmission doesn't hurt you. It helps you because you don't really need to adapt to that. I mean, yeah, you can do the paddle shift or whatnot, but how much do you need to learn to get the timing right, to just click your fingers? So I'm looking at the Supra now, man, and I'm like, yo, I think that we kind of threw this car under the bus like way too soon. Like, we didn't need it's only been out for a year. We needed to give it more time to see like what this thing is actually capable of, what it's actually doing. Now, I don't necessarily like the body lines from the rear. I think that it's way too narrow in the back. I think that if it had been a little bit wider and if it had that spoiler like they did with that concept car, then the fucking car would have been beautiful. But you can't deny that looking at the Supra from the side or looking at it from the front, it's fucking a fantastic car. And I think this is one of those cars where it's a Toyota, but it blends in with supercars. Like, if you park it next to a bunch of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and shit, like, the car blends in like it's supposed to be there. And which is not bad from a fucking Toyota, and especially a Toyota that's like 50 grand that runs fucking 12s, bro. Runs 12s. So the fact that the Corvette C8 is so close to performance to the NSX and so much more cost effective is very noticeable. Well, cost effective if it were closer to MSRP. But then when you look at the Supra, which is the next one down the line, look at how cost effective that one definitely is at 50 grand compared to what the C8 runs. So if the C8's running like fucking, mid to high 11s on a regular, and the Supra's running low 12s on a regular, and we're looking at like a $50,000-$60,000 gap in price. Like, wow, holy shit. And, the $50,000 for the Supra is 100% attainable for me. I'm paying that right now because I'm dealing with my upside down payments from the fucking DSI. So, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to fucking trade my Type R for a Supra because that I would lose my sedan. I would lose my kid hauler. So that's a problem for me. And I would really, like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, I'd like to get the car paid down, paid off, and keep it, and potentially do something with it later, and then start off something completely new. But next year, my wife is due in like February or January to be able to be at a tradable place. So I think that we're just gonna take a fun day and go out and test drive some cars. And I might see about test driving the fucking Supra. And the thing is too, right now with the way the used car market is, getting a decent trade for the Type R. Like, let's say if I decided like, fuck it, I'm gonna get a Supra and wanted to trade out, it wouldn't be too difficult for me. I mean, I have enough money on the side where I could pay it down to what the market value would be. So if I think what I probably owe, if I half a year paying on it, I probably owe maybe like 48 still, because the interest is nasty. So if the market, if they're willing to give like 43. So that's what, $5,000 come out of pocket. and maybe just do a straight trade over, that's fucking tempting, you know. Plus, we're talking about me not going to look for another, you know, 4 or 5 months. So I don't know. It's just something to consider. But just in general, I think that people are seriously sleeping on the fucking Supra, and I'm actually kind of happy for it because the car is not getting the super MSRP inflation like all these other cars are right now. You know, the Type R is nasty expensive. The C8 Corvette is nasty expensive. I don't think there's really many you know, high demand cars out there that are cost effective right now, except the Supra. And so because of the fact that we're only in the year one, and and I think that the upgraded model, they changed the code, like, so it's a newer version of the Supra. It's not the same officially. It's not the exact same car, and the newer one's already faster. That's great because that means if I go get a 0 miles one, it's already going to be even that much better than the original one that came out last year or this year. And if I get a used one, then that means we're, you know, instead of being 50,000, we're looking into the 40,000, which makes it even that much more accessible and affordable. Now, I guess that the only thing it would come down to then is like that BMW reliability. Like, I don't know how that's going to work out. So I guess we kind of do need to see a couple more years of it on the road before we get to see what the real bugs and shit are, what people complain about the most. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to test driving one sometime in the first quarter of next year. And maybe I go get a test drive and let you guys know exactly what I think. But after I looked at the prices of the Corvettes and shit last night, you know, like my blood was starting to itch, like trade, get another car. But I think that kind of squashed my trade out bug because, like, I'm not exactly super excited to get a Supra. But and so, you know, that kind of like, well, if I can't get the car I want, then I'm not gonna abandon the Type R. And who knows, you know, like, guys, you know, I'm super serious about doing the project car thing. The S2000 block is at the machine shop. It's gonna get its work done hopefully by the beginning or when did I send it out, like a week or so back? So hopefully in the middle of next month I get it back. I assemble everything, it goes together. My fucking S2000 will be there and ready, making like high 400s, low 500s. Maybe that'll get my itch sorted for a while and I can get my patience going on better and to wait for another car. But then, you know, after that's done, the next project car gets built, and it's going to be a K-Series, and it's going to be fast, whether it's NA or turbo, and then I'll sell that motherfucker, and that puts a little bit more funds in the pocket towards another car, and then we'll go hard for the next one. Who knows, man? If maybe if I can squeeze $6,000-7,000 out for the project car that I do after the S2000. Maybe we'll see about knocking down that loan on the Type R a little bit further, and maybe get closer to get it, push it forward closer to paying it off, and maybe it's paid off in 3 or 4 years, and then start looking at the next one. But I'm definitely looking at, you know, definitely excited about the next fucking car. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm done. You know, if you got any questions, leave your questions in the comments below. It doesn't matter what the questions are, you know, because I'm not answering DMs or questions anymore. I don't give a shit about that. And I know that for the most part, a lot of you guys have gotten really good about leaving comments. Like the comments, the amount of comments have upticked in the videos, and most of the questions too. But there are still some of you guys that are following me on social that have been following me for a long time, and I can clearly tell that you're only following me to ask questions whenever you feel like asking questions, because you're not responding to things I've said either in my posts or in the videos. So that means you're not watching or paying attention. All right, guys. So social media links are in the description down below, and peace.